Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today, and today's video is going to be on the still work in progress Kronstadt. Please do keep in mind that because the ship is a work in progress, anything that I talk about here can and potentially will change by the time the ship hits the live servers. So the last time I did a video on the Kronstadt, I wasn't very happy with her. I was like, her guns are erratic as hell, her HP wasn't really all that much better, and at the time I suggested things like increasing her HP a little bit more, maybe back up to around somewhere in the 70k range, and slightly improving the way the guns behave. And that's pretty much what they did. They buffed the Sigma up to 2.05, they increased the HP back to about 71,000. And I think the Kronstadt today is in a far better place. Still, you do see people make the Stalingrad Kronstadt comparison, and the thing that I want to make clear right now is these two ships are actually not comparable at all. Yes, they have the same kind of look. Yes, they're both sort of battle cruisers. They're classed as cruisers. Yes, they both have 305mm guns. And on the surface, it looks like these two ships should be compared to each other. But the truth of the matter is that they should not be at all. Stalingrad is, right now in her current state, pretty much a battleship. She plays like a battleship. She behaves like a battleship. You can do things with her that you would do with a battleship. Kronstadt, on the other hand, she is a cruiser. Yes, she is bulkier than most of the other Tier 9 cruisers. Yes, she's got these, traits that make her look like the Stalingrad, but she is a cruiser, and you kind of got to play her like a cruiser. Stalingrad is incredibly tanky. You get into a little bit of trouble with the Stalingrad positionally, you can angle tank, back yourself out. Kronstadt, yeah, you don't really get to do too much of that. And the reason why is Stalingrad's got 32mm plating, it's got a 50mm pike nose, it's got 50mm middle section. She's an incredibly tanky ship. Kronstadt, 25mm plating. The bow, the deck, the stern area. So if a battleship starts to focus fire you, you can take a lot of damage really quickly. In one particularly bad battle, I made the mistake of just getting into the wrong position, got focused right at the beginning by 3 battleships, and essentially in one salvo each I was down to less than half HP. So this is not Stalingrad, and to compare the two is pretty much a pointless exercise. The two ships are just dramatically different in a lot of ways, right? The role that I play as a Stalingrad and the role that I play in Kronstadt, they're just not the same. I play Kronstadt far more like I would play most other cruisers. I am either on a flank, or I'm trying to be behind my battleships, trying to lend them that supporting fire. I'm trying to engage other cruisers that are making mistakes, giving broadsides because I can take some of the pressure off of my own BBs. But I'm not frontlining with a Kronstadt. I'm not the frontline ship. With Stalingrad, in so many battles, I have become frontline battleship, because and tanking 3-4 million damage in Stalingrad is not an uncommon thing, but you definitely won't be doing that with the Kronstadt, right? She just has much more standard cruiser style gameplay. So her best sort of comparisons is with the other tier 9 cruisers, and if you make that comparison, I would say that Kronstadt definitely has her strengths, and she also has some things that maybe are weaknesses. So in terms of her strengths, she has the big guns. So if you have a cruiser longer distance away who's giving a broadside, you can punish them. Something that maybe with some of the other cruisers, other heavy cruisers, you can't, because maybe their shell velocities are not up to par, and hitting downrange they don't have enough penetration. Furthermore, Kronstadt does have another advantage when it comes to her high explosive. She's got the large 305mm guns. So even though she's got 1/6 pen, so nothing special there, she does have an excess of 50mm of penetration. So if you're running up against ships like Gross or Kurfürst, her HE is going to be a little bit more useful, especially when that ship is angled. This is sort of more similar to the effectiveness of sort of German HE with the Rune and Hindenburg in terms of penetration. However, those ships are substantially more accurate, because remember, even though Kronstadt does have now 2.05 Sigma and her guns are much well behaved compared to before, she still has battleship dispersion, so the shells are still at times going to be a little bit crazy, still going to be a little bit more wild compared to a normal cruiser. which has substantially better cruiser level dispersion. Now, Kronstadt, compared to the other tier 9 cruisers, does have one thing really sort of going for her. She does have a lot more bulk. And with the significantly more bulk, her heal's also going to heal a little bit more, things like that. So she definitely is better in that particular department. Like I mentioned, she can take hits, definitely better than the other tier 9 cruisers. However, do keep in mind that she is a large ship. She is large, she's not the most maneuverable thing out there. So if the enemy team starts to even take a little bit more interest in you and start to focus fire you, you can be in trouble very, very quickly. Some of the other cruisers out there, with a little bit more agility, you're able to dodge shells, you're going to be able to wiggle that rudder, and make it a little bit more challenging for the opponent to hit you. With the Kronstadt, that is much more challenging, as your ship is just that much easier to hit. So the advantages of having that huge HP pool can sometimes be offset by the fact that if the enemy decides to, a couple battleships on the enemy team take a little bit more attention to you, you can go down very, very quickly through pure penetration hits alone, because you're not really going to be all that great at dodging those hits. Kronstadt does have relatively thick belt armor, if you consider the fact that she is classed as a cruiser right now, which means that against other cruisers, if you're downrange and you're full broadside to them, they're going to struggle to citadel you, right? However, of course, up close, there's still a danger, so you do have to angle correctly. Against battleships, if you're in that really up close, oh crap moment, they're going to shoot you, you might want to try belt baiting their shot, so having them shoot at your belt, and go for the auto bounce. So, you know, she does have some of those quirks of being a battle cruiser. So, if you really want to think about Kronstadt, she's very interesting sort of playstyle wise. In a lot of cases, at the beginning of the battle, you're going to be playing more that cruiser role, supporting your battleships with HE, engaging enemy cruisers with AP if they're getting a little bit too much broadside, trying to get those punishing shots in. But as the battle progresses, and as the enemy team starts to thin out, and their battleships start going down, and the ships that are truly a threat to you start to kind of go away, you start to have an ever greater sort of influence, because as the enemy team starts to become a little bit more, let's say, cruiser or destroyer heavy, and there's fewer battleships to be able to hit those giant damaging numbers out of you, you can start to become more aggressive. You can lead pushes or charges, and you have that utility as well, right? You do have that radar. You can assist your cruisers or destroyers into flushing other destroyers out of areas and, you know, contest caps and things like that. But it's not something you do right at the beginning, because if you do that way too early on, you make yourself too big of a target, and if the enemy starts to really focus you, you go down very, very, very quickly. In my testing, of course, when I test any ship, I play it in all sorts of ways, right? I go hyper aggressive at the beginning, somewhat aggressive, you know, conservative, super conservative, very passive, etc. I play different styles just to see how the ship will handle. And typically, I found sort of this early stage more conservative, play as a cruiser, later stage be more aggressive, right? And it does take a little sort of a mentality shift at times too. So for people who maybe struggle with that, because some people will, like you'll see some players who spend the whole game and they'll just adopt the I'm always conservative mentality, or they'll sometimes go so hyper aggressive and they can't shift, right? Kronstadt probably is not going to be like a really good ship for those kind of players. But if you can analyze the situation, adapt your style between maybe a more conservative and later on more aggressive, you might like this ship. You really might. One other thing to sort of point out about Kronstadt, she does require friends, right? If you take a look at her, she doesn't have a last-ditch oh crap weapon, so no torpedoes. Her AA is not all that great. Yes, she has defensive fire, but she's a big ship, and if a CV wants to come after you, yikes, you might be in for a really, really rough time. So you're really going to be sort of task force play a lot. You're kind of going to go with other ships and have other ships come with you. And I would say Kronstadt, you're going to be happier playing in a division than playing by yourself. When I played Kronstadt by myself, it was more like, oh, just, you know, at times you really wish you had that extra little bit of support. You know what I mean? So Kronstadt's that kind of ship. And you know, compared to the first iteration I played, the current version of the Kronstadt is significantly better. And I feel like right now she really does have her own sort of place in the game. Now, if I have to make I guess a judgment call or an opinion call, I would say Kronstadt is really strong as a tier 9 cruiser. And she definitely will make some players very, very happy because it's going to suit their style of play. However, I should still make it clear that this ship has substantial pros. She also does have quite substantial cons. Yeah, she's bulky, but she's also really big, and 25mm plating everywhere. If you even get remotely focused, you can die quite a quick death. She's got the nice guns. Yes, she's got the HE, but don't forget she also does have the battleship dispersion. It's kind of mitigated by the improved Sigma, but you're not going to be hitting other ships as consistently as you would with this ship's HE compared to, let's say, any of the other tier 9 cruisers. She also lacks that last-ditch weapon system like torpedoes, and there's still some things that at times you're like, oh, I just wish I had that, but you don't, right? All in all, I think Kronstadt has her own place in the World of Warships game. At tier 9 as a cruiser, she has her own unique little thing that the other tier 9 cruisers don't have, but at times they have things that she doesn't. So that's kind of my take on the Kronstadt. What do you all think now that you've sort of heard me talk about her and you've seen a little bit of gameplay? What do you think about the ship? Do you like where she's at right now, or do you really not like her still? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, this is also the final results screen, so as you look through it, you can sort of make a pretty decent judgment about how she is. Anyways, final small little things to, I guess, take care of. One, yes, I've gotten the community contributor crates and camo, and I'm going to be finding ways to give it away, but that'll all come in a different video, as I do sort of mostly want to leave this one for the Kronstadt. One other thing, of course, I do apologize for not having content up mostly during the weekdays. If you've paid attention for the last little while, notice that most of the videos have come up on the weekends, and there's sort of a big gap during the weekdays. I've been job hunting and going to interviews and things like that. I have secured myself a new job, so that goes Monday to Friday, so you're probably going to see a sort of a bit of a lack of content during the weekdays. I will try if I can squeeze in a video here and there. I'll try my best, but of course, no promises, obviously, as jobs are jobs, and you gotta work, and you gotta make sure the bills can be paid. But I will do my best. Most of the content should be coming up in the future, or at least in the near future, on weekdays, and I'll still try to put up 3 videos, but it'll pretty much be in like one lump during that period of time. Anyways, folks, of course, have yourselves a good one, take care of yourselves, and of course, expect another video tomorrow or later today. I'll try to get another one up. So take care, and I'll talk to all of you again soon.